Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy Stump back for another Optc video, and in today's video, we're over here on the global side of the game once again, doing another Pirate Rumble video for you guys. Now, Pirate Rumble's been getting a lot of love lately, and it will be getting a little bit more love with the release of Enel and Kaido and Zoro, and then like Treasure Map Queen, Treasure Map Komurasaki. But in today's video, we're looking at the defensive side of Rumble, and in today's video, we are using the Juggernaut, the DEX defensive team, and it is an absolute weapon. In my opinion, it has actually risen so fast and has sort of slid under the radar. It was always a good defensive team, but with the addition of some very good nukers, this team is actually viable as an attacking team, but you mainly want to use it as a defensive team. So the team looks a little bit like this, but there are a few other options that we can talk about as well. So Legend Kid is an actual weapon on the DEX team. As you can see, I don't even have him maxed. Like, I didn't realize he was so low. Level 6 special and level 4 Rumble ability, so we're going to have to fix that. He does defense up and HP up as he's passive, and as he's special, he does defense up and a bunch of damage too, which is a really good 2 times on a 28-second cooldown, which is great. The Pirate Rumble Bardo is another really good option. He's got quite a low cost, which means you can run an 8-man team, and utilizing characters like Treasure Map characters, Rumble characters, and Pirate Rumble exclusive characters means that you guys can just rock a lot of extra units on your bench, and with this team, it needs that. So with Bardo, he does defense up level 3 for all teammates. He does a bunch of damage, and his Rumble ability does HP up level 5, defense up level 2, very similar to Kid. Next we have Rayleigh, probably arguably the best defensive unit on this team. His ability does guard up, defense up level 5 when you're below 60% HP, and he does team level up level HP up level 5 as well. His special is very good, but it is on a very high cooldown, 1700 fixed damage to all large range, as well as attack up and defense up level 5. Make sure you have Rayleigh in the middle. He works best in the middle because you want him being attacked. Next, we've got Komurasaki on this team. Now, Komurasaki is a really good option. She targets 2 enemies for 2 times attack and has a 100% chance to paralyze. And she does speed up level 5, defense up level 2, which is really good on a very low cooldown, which is great. Next, we've got Pirate Rumble Cavendish. Pirate Rumble Cavendish is actually a really good option here, as he does defense up level 4 for 1 high defense teammate. So he's going to make that unit even more tanky. He targets 1 enemy low defense enemy for 3 times his attack, so he does a lot of damage as well. On the bench, we are rocking Sober Mask as our second option. He's amazing, as in the last 40 seconds he does 2 times his attack twice on a 24-second cooldown, and his passive is attack up level 5, speed up level 5, quick enemies defense down level 2. So if you are coming up against that quick team, or that quick team trying to take you down, Sober Mask is going to do a lot of work here. We have Whitebeard as our final option here. He's just a really good nuker. You already know what he does, but the big unit on this team is Legend Zoro. Now, Legend Zoro is ideally his best in the last 30 seconds, but with this team and the slashes running around, you kind of want him as your first bench, as his special will do 1 times his attack in a large frontal range, and then if there's less than 50 seconds, he does 2 times his attack as a second shot, and if there's 30 seconds left, he does another 2 times his attack. So he does like 3 attacks, very similar to Versakainu. You guys will see that when Versakainu drops, but this guy can just board wipe and just absolutely devour units in the last 30 seconds. His Rumble ability does self-special cooldown level 3. He gives himself 5 turns of attack, 5 levels of attack, and gives 5 levels of attack to Dex teammates, as well as 3 speed. So he gives himself 10 attack, basically, which is really good. So that's the team. Let's talk about a few other options here. Now, other options you have for Dex, you do have these Frankies. Now, Pirate Rumble Frankie's great. He does damage over time, and he nerfs quick enemies as well by level 2 defense and speed down level 7. So if you are versing the quick team, he works really well. But he's mainly good for if you're using like an attacking team. Next, we've got let me just find a legend so we can find this easier. Corazon. Corazon's an amazing Dex unit, and you will see Corazon in this video, but Corazon's really made for versing quick units, as he nerfs their special cooldown level 5 and their speed level 5. He gives him the team level 10 attack for the first 40 seconds of the fight, so you want him in the front lines if you are using him. And then his special does a bunch of defense, level 7 for a small range, and a whole bunch of healing, which is really good. But as mentioned, you kind of only really want him against the quick team, and because slashes are still running around, you do need to be careful there. Another really good unit that we have is another Frankie, the rare recruit Frankie that came out with Stampede Luffy. He can give attack up and defense up to Dex and Sai teammates, which is really good. Other options you guys have as legends, you do have Legend Hawkins. He's a very good defensive unit, as he can give crit percentage up, guard percent up level, which is awesome. So if you're missing someone like Rayleigh, he's a great option. You've also got other options like V2 Jinbei. V2 Jinbei is a really good option, as he can give defense up and miss chance to the enemy, which is great. And there is another unit, but I just cannot think of it right now. There was another unit that I wanted to talk about. I had it in my head, but now it's gone. Oh, Magellan. Magellan's another really good option if you guys are looking for another damage over time, very similar to that Frankie. But that's enough about the team, guys. I do have 8 matches in this video for you guys today. The first 4 against the quick-driven team, the last 4 against the slashers. So let's dive in. Alright, so for the first half of the video, we're going to take on the quick-driven meta team. This team has been floating around since Kaido's release and is very, very strong, especially with the release of Treasure Map Queen. But as mentioned at the start of the video, the DEX team has a lot of variation. I will show off sort of, I think, what the best defensive team is at the end. But when it comes to versing the quick team, Corazon is just an absolute weapon, like a disgustingly strong unit to take down quick. He's just basically nerfs them completely, as he completely nerfs quick. And with Wano Law, you can actually do some pretty funky things. And when the Psy team becomes a little bit more prevalent on Annal's release tomorrow, I will be doing some testing there with Law and then sort of just slapping Corazon on. But on this team as well, we are utilizing the Pirate Rumble Frankie. Now, Pirate Rumble Frankie is actually a really good option, as Dex is so damn tanky. There's a lot of defensive units like Rayleigh. You have the new Arasaki that was a treasure map unit. Obviously, Kid's very defensive as well. So using the damage over time with Frankie's actually really, really strong. The downside to Frankie is he's on like a 35-second cooldown. So ideally, you just want him to get his special once, pop off his special, and then just let him die. That way your nukers like Zoro and Sobermas can come in. As you can see, Frankie is pretty much dead. He just pops off his special, and that's exactly what we want him to do. He lowers the defense, he lowers their speed, he does damage over time to particular units, and then basically he just dies and you are hunky-dory, as that way you are around that 50-second mark. Man, he actually tanked that shot. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, the Dex team is disgustingly tanky. Frankie had no HP, copped a Brachiosaurus bomber, and is still alive. But in saying that as well, it works really, really well, because ideally you want to get around that 40-second mark or that 30-second mark, so that way Submask and Zoro just end up doing a butt ton of extra damage. So if you can get the timing right with the Dex team, it can work very well as an attacking team, but ideally you are sort of using it as a defensive team. And if you do see this team floating around, or any sort of Dex defensive team, just be very, very careful, because it can do a lot of work. Had a lot of very good support with Pirate Rumble units like Cavendish, Frankie, what's the other one? Sobermask. So as you can see, we're now down to the last 30 seconds. We've got Sobermask coming in with his special. We've got Zoro coming in with his special. And basically, we're just going to say goodbye to the good old quick team, as it can't really do too much from here. Now, even if you don't win these fights, I have done a little bit of testing with these particular teams against similar setups. And if you don't win the fight, normally you actually stall it out. This guy had Zoro in the back as well, which is very, very scary. If you ever see Zoro in the back, be very, very scared, because if he comes in at the right time with his special, you've basically lost. But as I mentioned, even if you don't win the fights when you are testing this team, just be mindful that this is built as a defensive-based team. So even if you stall out the enemy, you kind of get a good result there, as that way you know if someone fights you, you're probably going to win in terms of the timer. So that was the first fight against a quick team. We're going to move on to the second fight now. Alright, so the second fight we're versing another driven sort of slasher combo team. Now this team uses Roger instead of using someone like Invincible or Queen, and this team actually works really, really well. Roger's still a phenomenal unit when it comes to Rumble, mainly because he has fixed damage. 2,000 fixed damage to all enemies is still very, very strong. Plus his nerfing capabilities are ridiculous. The fact that he can drop your attack, your speed, and your defense is just actually disgustingly strong. So just be careful if you are coming up against Rogers, and just put the right contingency plan in place if you are coming up against him.
Unpredictable as well.
The thing that I found with the Dex team that does struggle, every sort of defensive team, or every Rumble team I should say, does have a weakness somewhere. So when you are attacking, be mindful of that, and if you do understand how most of these teams work, you will be able to find the right counters. And when it comes to the Dex team, sort of like the quick team when they come up against stuff like Dex teams or Corazon or Law, the Dex team does struggle with special bind. Now, V3 Algaji is a really, really good unit at doing that, but he is quick, so you don't have to worry about him too much. But if you ever see Halloween Law floating around, you are rocking the quick team, or if you do see the quick team, you are rocking Halloween Law, feel free to go at it, because Halloween Law does so much work against this particular team, my defensive team I'm talking about, mainly because you can just special bind, and when you special bind, you stop them from getting so much tanky. So their defense isn't as high. As you can see here, we're sitting at 19 defense, which is disgustingly high. Like, disgustingly high. And with that defense, we can easily stall out to the 40-second mark. Let our nukers come in and do the work. But with someone like Halloween Law running around,
makes a lot of sense.
You don't really have that chance to get so high in your defense, and that way you can't really tank shots like the Thunder Booga from Kaido. You can't really tank shots from Odin, and you got to be really, really careful as those particular units do a lot of damage. Same with PvP Whitebeard as well. PvP Whitebeard's another unit you got to be careful of, mainly because he lowers the defense before he attacks. Very similar to what Kaido does, but just to a much higher degree at a much lower power level. So once we get down to around the 40-second mark, we can start losing units. Normally for stereotypical teams at the start of Rumble, if you lose units, it was kind of scary because the bench was non-existent basically at the start of Rumble. But now, having a solid bench or designing your bench in a way to come in and sort of just clean house, it's just so prevalent within Rumble. And the DEX team does it by far the best in my opinion, mainly because they had access to Sobermasking Zoro, but you could easily slot them in, as you've seen in some other videos. I'll try and leave a card if I remember, but I'll leave a link in the description anyway. As you've seen with my other quick team, just utilizing these units as bench units, even though they're not getting boosted from the main team, it still works really, really well, as they just come in, clean house, and as long as you can sort of defend until that last 30 seconds, you're pretty much hunky-dory. So on to the next fight now.
When you think about Kaido, he seemed very simple at first, but then...
Alright, so once again, we are versing another sort of quick-driven setup. This guy is using Roger, but he also has Queen. Now, Queen is a really, really good option for the quick team, as you get a lot of HP, a lot of defense, and his special does a lot of damage. The other option that you guys have if you are running the quick team is something like Invinkov or Bellamy. Now, if you're running Roger, you probably don't need Invinkov because you're getting that attack down nerfing. Not a high cooldown like Invinkov, but Roger's passive is just infinitely better. So if you have the cost available, I definitely slot Roger in there, but utilizing the free-to-play characters just allows you to free up so much space on your bench, and it just gives you so many different options for characters like Karxma, characters like Sobermask, characters like PvP Whitebeard. You've even got like rare recruits like Enel and Dogstorm, all those really good characters that can sort of do a lot of damage or give you like very good buffs to your team. Rare recruit Enel is just ridiculously strong. Because he has 5 rainbow defense, that's another good option if you are missing characters like Colgar and Nolan, Karxma, Whitebeard, all of those really good Pirate Rumble nukers. Once Law drops tomorrow as well, he's another really, really good option on pretty much any team as a bench, as he can just do a lot of damage. As you can see there, Queen special does a lot, but utilizing Corazon on this main team when we are coming up against the quick team just helps out significantly, as not only does he heal a lot, but he just nerfs them completely. Now, it was a little bit hard to showcase Corazon when I was doing my attacking teams, mainly because, like, when you are attacking, you want damage, and Corazon's healing sort of just keeps your main units alive, which is great if you're defending, but when you're attacking, not so much. So this particular team that you do see here against all these sort of quick runs works really, really well, but it doesn't work overly great against characters or teams that are very, very fast, namely the slasher team. But in saying that, the team that I do have for you guys against the slasher team actually works against this particular setup as well. The downside is it's just so slow that normally you actually time the enemy out, and that way it's still a W, but on the books it actually goes down as a loss. So once you see that slasher team, the team against the slasher team, that's the one that I would use if you are rocking it as a defensive team. But if you guys wanted to have some fun and you wanted to take down a few quick teams, this particular team just does so much work. And as you can see, once Sobermask and Zoro come in and they pop off their specials, like Zoro is about to, when he attacks, or he's 5th attacking. So once Zoro attacks here, he's basically going to do 3 attacks. Boom, boom, boom. And that's why Queen's so good. Queen can always, somehow, always tank that triple shot from Zoro. Every bit of testing I've done, Queen's just always the last one standing. I don't know, it must be something about his HP and his defense, because he gives himself defense on super. But we got one more fight against the quick sort of manner, and then we're going to move on to the slasher team. So let's head to that fight. Alright, so this is the stereotypical quick team. Now, I wanted to showcase this team because it does have Zoro as its final option. And as I mentioned, Zoro is just super, super scary as a bench unit. Like, super, super scary. Especially when he's in that last slot and you're looking at it like, I can see the last 10 seconds of this fight just comes Zoro coming out and just absolutely just like clapping me. And I know that through experience, it has happened before. Once or twice, maybe 5, 6 times actually. But in saying that, you have Zoro, I would definitely max him out, and I would definitely find a spot for him on whatever team you're running, because he just does ridiculous amounts of work. But this team has Frankie on it once again. I really had fun with using Frankie. He's a very, I don't know, I wouldn't say underrated PvP character, but he kind of just went to the side. Him and the Tontanas were just kind of like whatever. But if you are running this sort of defensive setup, utilizing stuff like Rayleigh and Kid, you can even use stuff like Hawkins. Hawkins is another really, really good option. You have the treasure map Komurasaki that just came out as a really good defensive option. So if you're using characters like that, that end of turn damage or that over time damage works ridiculously well. Now, if you don't have Rumble Frankie and you did want to try out some shenanigans with this, as you can see, like, Frankie's about to die. Like, he is dead, but then he gets his special off. He does damage over time, reduces speed by 7 and a bunch of defense, and then he's just like, all right, you can kill me now. That's cool. Just kill me. Kill me, and then the big dog Zoro comes in. But he just tanks Brachio Bombers like an absolute weapon. I might actually have to check Brachio Bomber. It might be a HP cut. If it's a HP cut, I'm going to look like a dickhead, but oh well. Bellamy's another really, really good option for the quick team. I love running Bellamy in general play as well as in Rumble. So if you've got some stamina free, I would definitely farm him up, as he has double special activation in regular play. He's a really good ore boost on a really low cooldown. And then with double special, you can do some wild things. Plus, he does damage, so you can use stuff like the smoker support. So if you're looking for a free-to-play character to farm up, definitely give him the time. Now, as you saw there, Kaido just came in and took out Corazon, or our middle three, but because they were on like some pretty good special cooldowns, our nukers come in, mainly Zoro and Subamas. Now, we actually get fairly unlucky there. Zoro just gets his special, but he actually attacked first. So Subamas can just do so much damage that we don't have to worry about it too much. Once he gets his bench in, which is his Zoro and his Whitebeard, things are going to start looking a little bit scary. So we're going to buff our defense with Kid's special, which is great. And then hopefully we can get his... Oh, I can't check. I went to check the stats then, but I realized that I was pre-recorded. Hopefully our Zoro, which hit well, will pop off before his Zoro. He's going to go bang, bang, bang. See? Again. I don't know what it is about Queen, man, but he's just like, sorry, Zoro, you cannot kill me. Lucky... I'm not going to spoil manga. I was about to say, lucky Zoro isn't fighting him in the manga, but it is what it is. That was the quick team fights. Let's move on to the big dog slasher team that has been running riot for like the last 3 months now. Okie dokie, so here we are, the OG speed slasher team. Now, as I mentioned, if you see Halloween lore on that slasher team and you are running this DEX team, be very, very careful. There's no characters on here that are immune to special blind, so you do need to be mindful of that. Now, this particular team I have sort of kept the same as the one that was versing the quick team, but I wouldn't really recommend this particular team as your defensive team, as slashers are still so damn quick that they can do a lot of damage to this, and Odin particularly with his special just does so much work. Now, if you guys have the setup of this defensive team, make sure that Rayleigh is in the middle. You actually want Rayleigh's passive to pop off when Odin procs his special. So when Odin procs his special, he does 1,500 damage to everyone, and then he does a big shot. So here it is here. Normally with that 1,500, that will actually trigger Rayleigh's passive, which will give everyone the guard and the defense before Odin's second shot, which actually helps out so much in tanking so much damage that it will actually keep you alive, and then you can help stall out those Kizaru specials, the Dofi specials, so that way when Zoro and Subamas come in, you're going to be absolutely hunky-dory, as they are going to have their specials ready to go. They're going to do a lot of damage. Even at the 60-second mark, Zoro still does a lot of damage. You just want to make sure that he actually stays alive. Once Subamas pops his special off as well, we can actually start killing some units. We've taken out Odin now, we've taken out Kizaru, and we've taken out... who was the other one? No. We've only taken those two out, but it doesn't matter, because now all their damage is done, is gone. We basically just want to take out their core, which is Dofi. We take out Roger as well, and then we can just let our normal attacks do the rest of the work, because we have a lot of time left. But as you guys can see, Zoro and Subamas came in a lot earlier against the slashers than they did against the quick team. So you do want to be very, very careful if you are versing the slashers. And the next sort of team against these last 3 matches will sort of showcase this a little bit better. But Corazon still does work, but he's basically made for nerfing the quick units. So on to the next fight, we're versing the same slasher team. They do have a Tama on the bench though. Tama's actually a really good option for defensive teams, especially the slasher team, because she boosts fighters and free spirits cooldowns, and also heals. So she can actually come in for someone like Kizaru or something like that, keep the cooldown quite high, and then heal up your units. But with the Dex team that I'm running now, I've actually got Treasure Map Komurasaki in the front lines. Treasure Map Komurasaki is actually an absolute weapon. So is Hiyori, actually, the new free-to-play Hiyori. Shout out to Jinsun in our Discord. He was saying that she's really good. I think she's a healer. I haven't really looked into what she does, as I did use a lot of Dex scrolls and some like characters like Zoro, Bardo, and Komurasaki herself. But Komurasaki can actually give speed as well as defense on her passive, and her special also gives passive. And because she's a treasure map unit, she has a much lower cost, which means then you can run Whitebeard on your bench. Whitebeard doesn't really get boosted by this particular team, as he's not a Dex unit, but Whitebeard is so self-sufficient in those last stages, and his special does so much damage that he can just do so much work. Another character I haven't really spoken about too much is actually Bardo. Bardo, the Pirate Rumble one from the last season, is actually disgustingly good for Dex. He does a lot of defensive capabilities. He does a lot of damage as well, and I'm pretty sure he gives HP as well. So he's a really good option in the front lines, as he's got a much lower cost than like Legends and stuff do as well. So we did lose Bardo fairly early in this particular fight, but that's okay because we have Zoro in the front lines of our bench. Having Zoro in the front lines is definitely the way to go. I was doing some testing with having him second and last, but you really want him to come in fairly quickly against the slashers, as they normally will kill most of your units fairly quickly. And ideally you do want him to come in, because even at the 50-second mark, which you will see I think in the next fight, even at the 50-second mark he can still do so much work that with Rayleigh still alive, with characters like Kid still alive, you can actually give him a lot of defense. He can actually tank a lot of the shots, and then once you get down to that sort of 30-second, 40-second mark, and he does pop his special off, like he is about to right now, he is going to do so much damage. So he does his splitting Purgatory Onagiri, and just wipes out pretty much half their team. They've still got Roger, so Roger is going to do a little bit of nerfing, but then our boy Sobermask is going to come in and clean up the rest. So we lose Komurasaki and Cavendish there, but it's a-okay as we have our boy Sobermask. We do have Dofi still alive, so it still is a little bit scary, as Dofi is basically the core to the slasher team, but we just have too much attack to be able to worry about him. So that was the first of the slasher, or that was the first of the Komurasaki setup. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, this is the team that I would be running as a defensive team, as it sort of does work against both the quick and the slasher meta. Alright, so on to another slasher team now, which has Whitebeard in the back. So this was stereotypically the slasher team that was rocking for a very, very long time, until like Colgara Nolan came out. Colgara Nolan was really, really good in the back as another slasher unit. You could also use someone like Kaku in the back if you are running slashers. And then once Law comes out tomorrow, he's another really, really good option. The downside to running Law is you can't run Wano Law. So just keep that in mind if you are building slasher teams, as well as not being able to use Halloween Law. So don't understand why they made that PvP character a Law character, but I guess it is what it is. He's a strength unit, so I guess like you can run him on different teams, but Whitebeard and Colgara Nolan and Kaku actually are usually the best options for the slasher team bench. But because it is a full Sugo team, you don't really have the flexibility to run a 8-man team. I think you probably could with like Rare Recruit Dogstorm and some of those other units, but the stereotypical slasher team is just all Sugos, and it's just pure power straight from the get-go. It's all about speed, speed, speed when it comes to the slashers. Now, this particular team actually did a little bit better than the one that we just saw in the previous fight, and I think that has something to do with the setup. So normally you want to have your best defensive unit in the middle, but this guy actually had Law in the center and just managed to do so much more work against me than what the previous team did. Now, what I actually did was I actually switched Sobermask and Zoro for this particular fight, mainly because against slashers, Zoro just came in a little bit early for me on the previous fight, but at the end of the day, it actually didn't matter when I came up against this particular slasher team, because two of my units died basically at the same time. So putting Zoro first in the bench, as I mentioned in the previous fight, is usually the way to go, and it's probably what I'll be doing moving forward. That way he can go a little bit unnoticed when people are trying to fight you as well, and you can kind of bait them into thinking, oh, yep, it's just a stereotypical Dex team. I've beaten this before. But then Zoro comes in just that little bit earlier, and as you see, right on the 50-second mark, he manages to just absolutely clean house. So a little bit of RNG there, but at the end of the day, that's basically what you're doing with this Dex team. You are sort of trying to get around that 40 to 50-second mark, getting the Zoro special to pop off, getting the Submaster special to pop off, and Bob's your uncle. See you later, Slashers. Even with Whitebeard in the back, like, as soon as Whitebeard came in, it was just 1 versus 4, and it was just game over at that point. So let's move on to the final match of the video now, and let's wrap it up with this juggernaut of a DEX defensive team. Alright, so for the final team, we have another Whitebeard set up. This team's pretty much exactly the same as the team that we just versed. So this will give you guys a good idea that, like, this DEX team is no joke. And while RNG is still a very heavy force when it comes to Rumble, you can actually still play around with it. Something else that I forgot to mention as well is my Bardo and my Komurasaki aren't max special level either when it comes to Rumble. They are level 9, so, like, I mean, it's pretty damn close. But there is more potential to this particular team, as if you get their specials to level 10, they're obviously going to be giving a little bit of a better buff to this particular DEX setup. You really want to run Rayleigh, as I've mentioned throughout this video as well, in the middle slot. You can run him sort of in the 2nd or 4th, and that way he doesn't sort of get his passive as quick if you are looking to use it as an attacking team. But as I've sort of been rambling on this whole video, this team is not really devoted to attack. And the beautiful thing about having him in the middle is what you just saw there with Odin. Odin does 1500 to all of your units. And because he does that first, it can actually trigger Rayleigh's special. So that way you can actually tank the 2nd shot from Odin, which stereotypically does most of the damage. As you guys see here, we are losing units like crazy, and we are only at the 60-second mark. But the beautiful thing about that is now we have our nukers coming in. And if we can get around that 50-second, that 40-second mark, and still have them alive, we will be in very good stead. With Kid's special giving us defense, with Rayleigh's special giving us defense, it works really, really well. But we actually got really unlucky. We just lost Rayleigh before he popped his special off, and Zoro basically hit no one with his special. He went too far forward and then basically just attacked the sky, and for somehow he hit one of the units. But lucky for us, we do have Whitebeard on this team as well. Whitebeard can lower their defense, and with Submask, we can easily just clean house once again. That way Whitebeard comes in, he's looking at 4 units thinking, oh shit, I wish I was back at Marineford. But that's going to wrap this video up today, guys. Hope you enjoyed this defensive DEX juggernaut of a team. And if you did, make sure to go down there and belt the like button for me. If you're new to the channel too, hit the big red subscribe button. But guys, wherever you are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, I thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Lights!